Good morning, Brownsville. Good afternoon, good evening, depending on when you're watching this feed. If this is your first time here, welcome. My name is Frankie Olivo. Our program focuses on the very important issues that are affecting our local community. We have shed light on injustices and we have allowed for our platform, this mic, to be that of the voice of the people. Now, if this is something that you can see yourself supporting, we ask that you like, comment, and share this live feed. Now, as of late, our Facebook page is at risk of being taken down. The powers that be do not want you, the voter, the constituent, to know the truth. But remember, we will not be silenced. Now, if you're really about the cause and you want to stand up to corruption and you want to hold our elected leaders accountable, well, make sure you subscribe to our social media platforms. Currently, we are streaming this episode live across all of our social media platforms on X, formerly known as Twitter, and Facebook. You could find us under Frankie Olivo. And also, we're streaming this live on YouTube. Our channel is titled Frankie Olivo TV. Remember, Good Morning Brownsville will come on Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. religiously. So make sure you subscribe to Frankie Olivo TV on YouTube and all the rest of our social media platforms to tune in. We will not be silenced. And always remember, Brownsville, I am forever grateful to each and every one of you for the time and attention that you provide us. Thank you so much for that. How we doing, chat? How we doing? Happy Monday. I hope each and every one of you had a great and restful weekend. Back to reality. We are starting to see how parents are starting to post pictures of their Chuckies going back to school. The city of Brownsville, in particular, the BISD Independent School District, Brownsville Independent School District, will be initiating classes today, the 11th, if I'm not mistaken. We wish the teachers, the students, the parents, everyone involved, a great 2025-2026 scholastic year. It's always great to start new. It gives us hope. It helps us, or it should motivate us to want something better than what we had the previous year. If you're a teacher, you hope that you have a better outcome in regards to you reaching the hearts and minds of those students that you were entrusted. The students, we hope that they excel in academics, in athletics, in any correct extracurricular activities that they may be partaking in, and also the parents. We hope that that you, as a parent, are more involved in your child's academic. I was going to say career. Yeah, it is a career, right? Because whenever they go to school, we're preparing them for the future. We hope that you are involved. We hope that you have that communication, that dialogue with those teachers. That way you are able to provide your student with the motivation, encouragement, support needed. At the end of the day, we have seen, unfortunately, how parents just drop off their kids and they expect the teachers, administration to teach, but it all starts at the household. But again, who am I? Who am I to preach to the choir? Ladies and gentlemen, today we will be talking about how we have seen at the national level how Democrats have been, in particular the state of Texas, but it has made a national, it's become a national issue. How Democrats in the state of Texas are leaving their responsibilities. They're not showing up to the Capitol. They are breaking quorum. Today, we titled our program, Imagine if you told your boss that you weren't going to work in the foreseeable future. What would happen to you? It takes a lot of guts, right, to tell your boss, hey, I'll be back. See you when I see you. Essentially, that is what the Texas Democrats are telling us, the bosses. Essentially, we the people, we the constituents, ladies and gentlemen, we're the elected officials' bosses, per se. And that is how we will start today's show. Thank you so much for tuning in, Brownsville.
Across Texas, a special session continues along with the efforts by Democratic lawmakers to warn other states about the pressure they're feeling to redraw the congressional map. Our team spoke with Valley Representative Erin Gamez. She's in New Mexico with a handful of other lawmakers speaking to the state's governor over the issue. Texas Democrats have been critical of the Republican-led effort to redraw the congressional map known as redistricting. President Donald Trump has said to reporters that he wants the state lawmakers to redraw the map to help pick up 5 additional Republican seats ahead of the midterm elections. Democrats argue that this move is illegal and is targeting minority-held seats. Gamez says redistricting isn't just a Texas issue, but also a national one.
You're entertaining pure political power grabs to destroy and affect race-based minority populations. It makes no sense. That's not the will of the people. So we are traveling to make sure that we meet with other like-minded states and governors who are here to address the real problems of the people of the United States. And right now, we're trying to save the voices of South Texas.
Gamez says she and her colleagues will be back at the Capitol today.
Mott's building material.
What we have seen, ladies and gentlemen, from Democrats has been that they have been steadfast in their belief that by them breaking quorum, they are serving their constituents. And look, today's program is going to bring out the very best of each and every one of you. How, you may ask? How is a program that doesn't involve you, the viewer? How is this going to affect me? Well, because it all depends on our political ideology. Whenever we go back to the Boston Tea Party, who could forget Americans, or they weren't Americans then, they were upset of taxation without representation. They felt that it was their duty to fight back against the crown, against the monarch, and say, hey, we are being taxed unfairly. What happened with the Boston Tea Party? Well, we all know they were rebellious. What we have been hearing as of late from many individuals has been how they are applauding individuals such as Erin Gamez, who has been reluctant to go back to Austin. Who can forget, ladies and gentlemen, of the recent drama that these new maps that were recently redrawn, they have caused? And this goes back to all the way to the White House. We have seen how President Trump has been steadfast in wanting to make sure that they widen the gap of having a narrow margin in Congress. Individuals have focused on making sure that this redistricting has become a standoff. Now, the idea of the White House is to pick up 5 additional congressional seats in the United States House. And Democrats, well, they face financial and political risks in their bid to block this plan of the White House. And what we have seen ever since this redistricting of maps have been, who's going to blink first? Us in particular, ladies and gentlemen, we have seen how our area is, or once this becomes final, how this should affect us here locally. And for us living in South Texas, what we have to focus on is House District 34 that is currently being held by Vicente Gonzalez, Congressman Vicente Gonzalez. We have spoken about previously throughout this summer. We have stated that if the maps were to be redrawn the way we heard they would be, such as what I have in front of you, that we anticipated how Mayra Flores, a very well-known candidate for this position, is ultimately going to come back to South Texas, come back to this area, and declare her candidacy for the GOP primary for D34. We have been criticized and said, oh, you're jumping the gun. But everything that we talk about, ladies and gentlemen, is brought to you with receipts. Everything that we hear from our individuals that have their eyes and ears on the grounds at the Capitol have slowly become true. While Mayra Flores has declared to challenge Henry Cuellar out of Laredo Webb County, we are slowly starting to hear rumblings that the reality of Mayra Flores coming back to District 34 is very well known and is a high probability. I asked one of my colleagues and I said, if you were a betting man, give me a percentage. They said 90 to 95% chance that Mayra Flores does come back. What this redrawn of the maps has shown, ladies and gentlemen, is that the GOP, that there is a possibility that they could win this. And if we talk about this past November, we spoke previously of Mayra Flores losing her race against Vicente Gonzalez for a second time by 5,000 votes. Now, if a Republican challenger lost to a Democrat in what favored a Democrat, the way the map was redrawn previously, by 5,000 votes, the GOP right now is salivating. Why? Because 5,000 votes in a congressional race is not much. When we talk about a school district race, a municipal race, maybe even a county race, whenever we talk about 5,000 votes, well, that is a lot. But whenever we talk about a congressional race, ladies and gentlemen, 5,000 votes is a small town. And if you're able to maneuver and redraw a map that could take pieces here and there, well, that 5,000 votes is easily obtainable. We saw how Senator Adam Hinojosa, previously lost his race by 500 votes, if I'm not mistaken. He once again challenged Morgan Lamantilla, and he was successful. Are we going to see the same with Mayra Flores? What's going to happen to Vicente Gonzalez? Many people are alluding to the fact that, hey, he might retire. His house right now currently lands in House District 28, if I'm not mistaken, with Henry Cuellar. Is he going to go into Webb County? Is he going to go into Laredo? We don't know yet. And it's interesting, ladies and gentlemen, because all these factors at the major leagues, how I like to call them, on the national level, well, they have ramifications down in South Texas. By Vicente Gonzalez, possibly, let's say hypothetically, Congressman Vicente Gonzalez does not elect to run in District 34. What's going to happen to those individuals that were expecting the support of Congressman Vicente Gonzalez here locally, whether at the city, school district, at the county? Will they be quick to jump into these new roles, into these new races? What's going to happen to the lobbyists that garnered the support of Congressman Gonzalez, that got him into these government entity jobs by lobbying for them? Are they going to be out of a job? So everything that happens at the national level, ladies and gentlemen, ultimately affects us here locally in South Texas. Our primary focus has been District 34. We did show the video in our introduction of Representative for District 38, I apologize, Erin Gamez. She recently released a statement and she said, my decision to deny quorum is based on my responsibility to represent the people of District 38. She goes on to say, any decision to return will be based solely on what serves our community. This is not political pressure from either side. She goes on, attempts to bully, harass, intimidate my staff or myself will have no bearing on my actions. Sadly, this quorum break has revealed the true character of some people, and it has been very disappointing. I remain steadfast in my commitment to the Valley. That will never change. Now, it is interesting to learn of the reasons that Representative Gamez has stated that she is breaking quorum. Now, there have been arguments. There have been arguments from the Democratic side and saying and applauding Ms. Gamez and saying, hey, yes, you're doing the right thing. You're fighting for us. Representative Gamez has stated previously on the record how she was disappointed how the GOP was using the issue of the flood in Central Texas to call a special session and bring this redistrict issue to the forefront. Essentially, what has happened, ladies and gentlemen, is that important issues that were called during the special session are not being addressed. We spoke previously on the important issues that were before this special session, the STAR testing that all Texas students in public school have to take. What's going to happen with that? Is that going to be modified? Is that going to be eliminated? We don't know yet. Also, THC, hemp, the use of THC. We have spoken previously on how we feel that pharmaceutical companies, lobbyists, they're paying big bucks to legislators because they want THC to go away. We are big proponents of giving our veterans, our elderly population options. We feel as if our elderly population aren't given options, that will resort to medication, pain medication that will ultimately make them addictive, that will ultimately affect their organs, and I can go on and on and on. Another very important issue is property taxes. You know, hey, we have been burdened with this issue living here in South Texas ever since SpaceX set his foot here. Our property taxes have skyrocketed. Now, it's beneficial to those that are seeking to sell at this time. But the reality of living in Brownsville, Cameron County, South Texas is that many people have argued about gentrification. Hey, we have an elderly community that live on a fixed income, that live on Social Security. I have clients that receive $600, $700, $800. That's not manageable for them. They're not able to live a good quality of life. What's going to happen with property taxes? Well, all that right now is on standby. Why? Because in Austin at the Capitol, there is no quorum. We have over 50 Democrats that have fled the city. Now, essentially what's happening is that the Democrats, they know that they're going to lose this issue. Again, they're protesting. They're breaking quorum. But it is their hope that this sparks a national fight, a national issue. Why? Well, because of people such as Beto O'Rourke. Francis O'Rourke has come back. And what has happened is that he is getting the Democrats together and saying, hey, we need to fight. We need to leave Texas. We did see recently how a judge did block Beto O'Rourke from financing Texas Democrats from fleeing. This came after an order from the Attorney General, Ken Paxton, who accused Beto O'Rourke of a fishing expedition. He goes on to say, this is a fishing expedition. Constitutional rights be damned. But at the end of the day, what is happening? Again, we titled our program, Imagine if you told your boss that you weren't going to work. What would happen to you? To those individuals that do work an 8 to 5, that do have to respond to somebody, if they called and said, you know what, boss? I'm not showing up, eh? I'll see you when I see you. You know what the boss would say? Frankie, your job will be posted on Indeed by tomorrow morning if you don't get your butt back into this desk. That is a reality, right? Shouldn't that be the same for our legislators? Because essentially what is happening is resources are being spent. The longer that this special session is delayed, the more money is being spent. Now, Governor Abbott did go on the record and say, "Hey, I'll call a special session as long as it takes. We could go into 26. We could go into 27. It's gonna happen. It's up to you, Democrats. What are you gonna do? Are you gonna continue breaking quorum?" Now, there has been an issue going around how the lieutenant governor, Dan Patrick, and along with Texas leaders, they did ask for the FBI to look into this matter and help Texans bring back these legislators. We did hear in the video that started our episode how Erin Gamez stated that Democrats are traveling to like-minded states. Many people, many Texans, those that have investigated and followed this, are saying they're traveling to Illinois. But what is happening? The reality is, ladies and gentlemen, that if anyone working an 8 to 5 abandoned their job in the real world, they would face consequences. Should it be different to any of these legislators, to any of these House Democrats who fled the state of Texas? Now, I know what you're thinking. Frankie, this is just your way of supporting the GOP. By no means. What I am starting to see, and I want you to see the big picture. Rosemart says, you know what? Erin is working for us. And we say, stay out. Don't come back into Texas. So Rosemart essentially is saying that she is okay with Texas spending money and not being able to make these decisions. What about your property taxes, Rosemart? Do you have children? Do you have grandchildren within the school district? They're in limbo right now because they can't decide on this issue. And the most important thing, and look, do politicians politicize issues? 100%. I am not here to paint a picture of, oh, this is an injustice that is being done. No, this is politics. That's the reality of this. And we'll talk shortly about what we have seen because we study history. We study the past. If we do not study the past, we will not know eventually what's going to happen in the future, right? But what we have seen has been how the floods in Central Texas and the Hill Country in Kerrville, how those issues of providing funds, relief, establishing better communication systems. That way, these events aren't, I don't want to say preventable, but we have better action in avoiding these issues. And again, there have been reported at least 100 plus, 150 plus deaths and hundreds more that are still have not been accounted for. This is a tragedy of epic proportions. We're talking about women and children perished in this flood. I would say that the flood issue is important. But again, it's all priorities. It's all priorities. Everything's gonna get focused on at the appropriate time. But what was interesting to learn from this issue, ladies and gentlemen, is that the Democrats, in my opinion, and get ready, Democrats, I know you're gonna throw flack my way. It's a picture, Frankie. Beep, 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 beep. The Democrats, it seems as if they are hypocrites in this issue. Why are you saying this, Frankie? Why are you saying that the Democrats are hypocrites? Well, in the video that we started today's episode in, we heard how Erin Gamez said that the Democrats will be traveling will be traveling to like-minded states because they want to make this issue a national issue. President Trump wants 5 seats. We're not going to give him 5 seats. And it is reported that the state that welcomed them was Illinois. And the reason why I say that it's hypocritical of the Democrats is because look at the redistricting of Illinois. What can we say about this issue? Everyone's talking about gerrymandering. It's wrong. But when it comes down to it, ladies and gentlemen, many people are arguing and saying that correcting prior map efficiencies, because the congressional map that was drawn in 2021, it does not reflect Texas political landscape or the recent voting trends. We saw how the GOP, they claim that the existing map underrepresents their electoral strengths. Why? Because Donald Trump won 50%, 56% of the vote in Texas. Yet Republicans only hold 28 out of the 38 House seats, which is 65, 66%. So redrawing this map, essentially what happens is it could align to congressional representation. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're saying, oh, you're just buttering up. Kind of. It is important for us to recognize, ladies and gentlemen, that the maps should reflect how the voters came out and voted. The Democrats are upset that they lost in a landslide, and us in particular. They saw how the GOP started taking border towns, border counties. Now, I have heard people make the argument and say, oh, well, this is done mid-census. That's wrong. It's never happened. But if we go back to 2006, the Supreme Court ruled that mid-decade redistricting in Texas is not prohibited by the U.S. Constitution. A court decision in 2019 by the Supreme Court, it did state that federal courts cannot intervene in partisan gerrymandering cases. It stated that given states like Texas significant leeway to redraw districts for political advantage. Now, Governor Abbott has stated that he wants to maximize voter choice, and he's defended redistricting by claiming that it maximizes Texans' ability to vote for candidates of their choice. Now, Republicans, they could argue that the proposed map that I have in front of you on the screen, it would create 30 districts that Trump would have won in 2024, up from 27 districts. Again, this would better reflect the preferences of Texas voters, particularly in areas such as South Texas, where the GOP support amongst Hispanics have been growing year in and year out. Now, I've heard of other people that have stated, oh, well, this is discrimination. Well, we might argue, ladies and gentlemen, that mid-decade redistricting is necessary. Why? Because Democrats have done this in states such as, you guessed it, Illinois. What is good for the goose is good for the gander. And people are going to say, oh, this is an attack on democracy. You see, it's funny because whenever it benefits the Democrats, those avid blues, They're like, what? No, what? ¿Qué pasó? No, no pasó nada. Tú dale, go, go, go. Whenever individuals say that this is an attack on democracy, let me tell you what they're really saying. They're really saying that we're going to lose power. This isn't about democracy. This isn't about doing what's right. No. This has been and will continue to be a way to control power. And look, that's the way it goes. That's politics. And look what we have here. The state of Illinois. Can you see how this map is drawn? Can you see how it has been favorable to one party? Now, when we talk about it, ladies and gentlemen, here I have it, found it. Let me bring it up. Yeah, bring it up. It gives a better explanation of what we're talking about. Yes, thank you. I got it. Okay. Are we on? We're on. Okay. Here I have before you, ladies and gentlemen, the way the map was drawn in 1970 versus today. The map on the right is from 1970. The map on the left is the current map that the governor, Pritzker, and the Democrats put in place in Illinois. Isn't it hypocritical that representatives such as Erin Gamez and other Democrats are fleeing Austin to go to like-minded states? According to her, these aren't my words. These are Representative Gamez's words, that they're going to like-minded states to focus on this issue. And where are the Democrats right now? Where are they hiding? They're hiding in Illinois. They're being hypocritical because they're going to a state that did gerrymandering that favored Democrats. You see how this works? It's okay if they do it, but once the others start doing it, no. That's wrong. And we have people here in South Texas saying, yes, you keep doing it. You don't show up. Yes, spend money, waste resources. Is that the message we want to send? Again, I asked a legitimate question. What would your boss say if you told him, hey, ¿sabes qué? I ain't going to work. You're not going to work. Okay. Well, you're fired. Isn't it hypocritical, ladies and gentlemen, that the Democrats are going to Illinois, and which is one of the most gerrymandered states in the entire country? Look at the difference from the right side, 1970, to the left side, today, present day. This is hypocritical on the part of the Democrats. And I could go on and on and on. It's not just Illinois. Again, this is an issue at the national level. We can talk about Maryland. We can talk about Illinois, New York, California, Massachusetts, Oregon, New Mexico, Nevada, New Jersey. What did they do? In these respective times, they redrew the map to flip their state so it could favor the blues. The people, you're right, the people are the bosses. So you're okay with our legislators, our representatives spending money because we want them to do that job. I could go on and on and on and on of blue states that has no representation of Republicans. How do you feel on this issue? Now, again, if you are a diehard Democrat, you're going to applaud this. You're going to say, yes, keep doing what you do. At the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, and the arguments that are being made is that their voices are being suppressed, that this is a great way for the GOP to circumvent this. The legalities might be questionable, but sometimes voices have to be heard. You know, rules have to be broken in order for voices have to be heard. So if people are supporting this issue, I want them to talk about them not doing their job. Why do I support this? Because this is politics. Whenever we vote for representatives, we don't vote to run away when the going gets tough. Imagine a firefighter that's going, you sure? Cabrón. No. There's a lot of fire. No. Hey, ¿sabes qué? No, I'm gone. Peace. Oh, what about the police officer? You're being held against your will. You're being kidnapped. You're being on the point to lose your life. The law enforcement official shows up and is like, cabrón. No, that's too dangerous for me. Laters. Do their job. That's all we ask. Now, I don't expect them to vote accordingly to the GOPs. I'm not saying that. I'm saying show up. We had Terry Canales from Hidalgo County. He showed up. We had Bobby Flores from Hidalgo County. He showed up. Those are two Democrats. They showed up. You think they're going to vote with the GOP? Probably not. But you know what? They showed up. They're not in agreement with this. And that's the reality of life. Maxi Poo, Rosemart. That's the reality of life. Sometimes we're not going to get what we want. But we have to do what's right. And we expect our legislators, our representatives, to do their job, show up. I'm not saying vote accordingly. Vote against it. But show up. Again, when the going gets tough, we expect our firefighters, we expect our law enforcement officials to show up, not to run from things, to give face. Now, I understand people are applauding and people are encouraging Erin Gamez, and yes, this is awesome. You know, keep fighting the fight. You keep fighting. No pedo, you fight. Who cares? Spend money. So you're okay with Texas spending money. You're okay with important issues such as property taxes not being addressed, the flood issue, STAR testing, giving elderly people the option to whether choose hemp, marijuana, THC over pharmaceuticals. So you're saying that Erin Gamez is doing her job by not showing up? Really? So why did Terry Canales and Bobby Flores from Hidalgo County, why did they show up? Because they're doing their job. They may not like it. They may not be in support of it. But they're doing what they were entrusted to do. Now, what have we seen previously? Previously, we saw how State Representative Alex Dominguez, who once held District 37 when he beat Rene Oliveira, we saw how Alex Dominguez in 2021, how he fled and he broke quorum with the Democrats. I think at this issue involved voting rights, if I'm not mistaken. And what we saw from this issue, ladies and gentlemen, was that Alex Dominguez was in a pickle, in a conundrum. Alex Dominguez, and like every politician, had aspirations of a bigger office, a bigger title. This was a time where Senator Eddie Lucio, stepped down. And you had people such as Sarah Stapleton, Morgan La Mantilla, sign up for the Democratic primary. Alex Dominguez, he was a state rep. He was following orders from the Democrats at the national level. Many allude to the fact that many people promised him money. Many people said, hey, if you stand with us, we'll help you gain the seat of senator. Many have criticized Senator Lucio for being a Democrat in name only. Many people, and some could make the argument that he was really a Republican. And he wasn't really a Democrat. When he announced that he was going to retire, he was going to step down, many people saw that opportunity of saying, we could establish a blue through and through. They saw someone. They saw someone in Alex Dominguez and said, oh, well, this is a state rep currently in office. Why don't we help him become the senator? Many people allude to the fact that Alex Dominguez was following orders. Now, I don't want to, I'm not trying to throw Alex Dominguez under the bus and say that he was told to do this, that he was told to break quorum, that he was told not to show up. But usually that's the way it works. You have people that tell you, hey, do this, do that. Usually, I'm not saying all people. I'm just saying there is this idea. What did we see from Alex Dominguez? He listened to the Democrats. He listened to the National Party. He listened to those individuals advising him, don't show up, get on the bus, let's go, break quorum. You don't need to be there. We got you, don't worry. We understand that this is a political ploy. This isn't going to last forever. But Governor Abbott did state, if we can't obtain a quorum, we're going to have he's going to call a special session until 26, 27. This is temporary. The Democrats know that there's no way to get around this. Eventually, they have to come back. And it's funny how they made a change in their direct deposit. Like now they have to go pick up the checks in order for them to get paid. It's not much. Reps get paid what? Peanuts. 10,000 at most, 12,000 at most per year, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong. We understand that this won't last forever. But why are they playing a game? That's all it is. It's a game. And I understand, hey, you got to play the game, whatever. But what do we see from Representative Alex Dominguez? He ended up losing the primary. Ever since this, he's been out of politics. While many people promised him and said, you're gonna win. All you have to do is don't show up, break quorum. And look, we applaud Erin Gamez. She is heavily involved in with our veterans. And we expect the representatives to be advocates, to fight. Don't get me wrong. I'm a big supporter of Erin Gamez. Up until this incident in question, She's done great. What I don't like is for our elected officials to focus on politics instead of the people. Now, her excuse was that she's doing this because she is committed to the Valley. And her decision to deny quorum is based on her responsibility to represent the people of District 38. And whatever she does is solely based on what best serves the community. We would make the argument that Representative Gamez is listening to the wrong people. When we talk about Terry Canales, when we talk about Bobby Flores, they are seasoned, experienced. This isn't their first rodeo. And they showed up. And they're hardcore blue. Well, Bobby Flores is the point of retirement. Who lost? Alex Dominguez? Alex Dominguez lost to Morgan La Mantilla. That's redistricting. That's what we have seen in previous states, as I just showed you. I think it's funny that Democrats are complaining about gerrymandering, but they're meeting with the Illinois governor, who him and his administration have done gerrymandering to benefit the Democrats. So essentially what they're doing is we got to learn from the pro. But he didn't lose. He didn't lose. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Chad, I believe Alex Dominguez lost the first time against Rene Oliveira and then he won the second time, or did he beat him on the first time? I believe you're wrong, Ruby Rose. I believe you're wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. I could be wrong. So what's going to happen now? Again, somebody alluded to in the comments said, this is not going to last forever. Some are saying that Erin Gamez is doing her job. She refused to back down when your vote was on the line. Say thank you. Be appreciative. Governor Abbott and President Trump, they're trying to rig the system. Governor Abbott and President Trump are just playing the game that former presidents, that former governors throughout the country have played. This isn't something new. You may say, oh, well, it's mid-census. It's not on. They went back in 2006, the U.S. Supreme Court decided that it's not against the law. It may be uncommon, but it's not against the law. You see, whenever it goes against the Democratic platform, it's a problem. But whenever it aligns with Democrats and their ideologies, they see no problem with it. At the end of the day, elections have consequences. And you're right, breaking quorum is part of the game. But how will Representative Gamez be viewed? Is she going to be viewed as a champion? Is she going to be viewed as somebody that fought? They are just as crooked. So you're saying the Democrats are crooked, Ruby Rose? Look, I love this dialogue. I really do. And I'm appreciative of individuals taking part and participating. That's what this program is all about. I want you to voice your frustrations. I want you to talk about what you feel. That is the reason for this, for what we do. And I hope you appreciate that, we focus on important issues that affect the lives of you and I, of our families, of our future generations. The reason why I chose to bring this up is because there are those people, ladies and gentlemen, there are those people that will applaud Erin Gamez just the way they applauded. No argument there, Ruby Rose. No argument there. There are people that are going to applaud Erin Gamez and saying, hey, fight that fight. You're doing what's right. Don't let up. You have other people who are going to say, remember what happened to Representative Alex Dominguez? What happened to him? He listened to the Democrats at the national level. He wasn't victorious in his race. Now, I am not saying that Erin Gamez is doomed. She just announced for re-election. What I'm saying is Republicans, if they find the right candidate who's smart enough, who's got brains, they're going to pump millions and millions of dollars in her race, especially with things like this. Now, Ms. Gamez is a very formidable candidate. She has persona. She has brains. But might this affect her? Maybe not in this re-election, but down the road. Again, Republicans are waiting for that perfect candidate to announce. Why? Because they will spend millions and millions of dollars. Millions of dollars. They saw how President Trump won border cities, border towns. They're starting to see how Hispanic voters are trending towards the GOP. They're leaving the Democratic Party for various reasons. We titled this program, Imagine If You Told Your Boss You Weren't Going to Work. What would happen? The reality is that you and I would get fired. Is Erin Gamez going to get fired by her people? We'll see, Ruby Rose. She only lost by 5,000 votes. That's very competitive in a map that was in favor to the GOP. What's going to happen? What's going to happen in a race where Mayra Flores has millions of dollars again in a map that is favorable to the red GOP? Those 5,000 votes, and again, the margin swinged 10, 11%. That's huge, huge. That 5,000 votes is going to tilt the other way. And Mayra might be up 7,000 to 8,000 votes when you really think of it. So again, it's all logistics, Ruby Rose. It's all a game. Ay, por favor, who cares? People, Bill Clinton got his D sucked in the White House. What happened to him? Nothing. Who cares? Your people are so, she's an adulterer. We don't even know the facts. We don't even know the reality of what happened. Maybe she was in an abusive relationship. I don't know. Again, I'm not alluding to that. I shouldn't say that. I don't know. But we shouldn't be quick to judge. We act as if we were holy, we were without sin, and she's the worst thing that happened. Come on. There's other things that are worse than that. If what they're saying is true. And if they did, not a big deal. At least to me, it's not. Ladies and gentlemen, what would happen if you told your boss you're not going to work? The reality is that we would get fired. While many applaud Erin Gamez and saying that she is doing her job, Republicans are viewing this under a microscope. They're viewing this race under a microscope, and they're saying, aha, maybe we're able to win on this issue. And we gave you the example of Alex Dominguez, how he listened to the National Party, and look what happened to him. Ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to our social media platforms. We could be found under Frankie Olivo on X, formerly known as Twitter. And also, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel titled Frankie Olivo TV. Good Morning Brownsville will come on to you Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. religiously. For all your Brownsville, Cameron County, and South Texas news, make sure you tune in. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Frankie Olivo, and this is Good Morning Brownsville. I hope you have a great start of your week. Peace! It's a hoax! It's a hoax!